So if, like me, you love a plugin that has its own unique character and identity, sounds great out of the box and has tons of sound design, adjustability and features, then you're going to want to check out this plugin. It's been a while, but I'm very excited to be back making YouTube videos, and I'm super excited that this is the launch of my very first plugin called Dust Verb. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what makes Dust Verb unique and different with some real-time sound design demos. So if you're into lush, evolving textures and next level reverb sound design, you're definitely going to want to stick around to hear these demos. But in short, it's essentially a granular reverb with shimmer that's got a freeze function, and it can create all sorts of lush pads textures, and it can do anything from subtle sort of reverb glows to more intense shimmery granular sound design. And also, if you remember in my last video, I announced a project to work on a community collaborative EP with myself, so there'll be some info about that at the end, along with opportunities for more projects and collaborations. So stay tuned for that, but for now, onto the demo. So I'll break down the interface and show you some examples of how it sounds, but I'll also mention that this is going to be a sort of lifetime updates thing. So as soon as you buy the plugin, I've still got some plans to develop the plugin. There's a couple new features that I'm going to add in the coming months and years. So it's going to be a sort of ongoing thing. So do let me know in the comments down below what your favorite features from Reverb plugins are, or if there's any sound design features that you think could maybe overlap into this plugin. I'd love to know what you think, what your favorite Reverb plugins are in a minute, and what your favorite features, and I'll try and incorporate everything I can into Dust Verb where applicable, but there are other plugins on the way as well, so do stay tuned. So anyway, without further ado, this is the plugin interface, and I will say it's completely adjustable. So up top, we've got these sort of essential controls, your high pass, your low pass, and your mix. On the left is your usual stuff, so your pre-delay, the sort of room size, the decay of the reverb, and the width. And as you hover over, it'll tell you exactly what's going on as well. And then on the right here, you've got some more interesting controls. So you've got the mix of grain, delay, and the reverb path. You can also adjust the mix of it, which can get some really interesting results as well, tweaking and balancing the two. This is the number of grains that get sort of thrown into the mix. We've got the shimmer, which is the sort of pitched up reverb that goes into the signal. And you can control the feedback as well, which can get some really interesting sort of feedback loops as you adjust that. Plus, you've got this special hidden control in the middle, which sort of freezes the reverb sound, and you can still adjust some of the settings as it's frozen, and you get some really lush, interesting pads that way as well. And for anyone who needs it, it's completely adjustable as well at the bottom, so you can change the size. But anyway, onto some sound demos. So a great way to demo a reverb is just to use a dry guitar signal. So this is literally just DI dry guitar. I'm going to switch on the sort of stock setting of the reverb. So I wanted the sort of stock setting to be a sort of washed out, quite big reverb, which is one that I use a lot on guitar, just when I want to bury it in the mix a bit. So for lo-fi, for ambient stuff, it's going to work great. And as I said, there's the shimmer option. You can increase the feedback. Let's up the mix a little bit and do a little bit of a high pass. Let's go super intense. You might drop the shimmer a little bit. As I said, you can freeze it. And then if you want to go back to sort of original, if you double click on things, it will just go back to whatever the stock number is as well, which is pretty handy. So that's it with just guitar DI, but I'll show you with a few other applications as well. And I've also loaded up a patch from my Dark Ambient Volume 1 preset pack in Vital, which is the Dark Starter pad. I've just made sure to turn the reverb off. So we've got this sort of quite textured evolving pad already. That's what it sounds like, and we'll go to one of the loops and we'll drag in Dust Verb. So with stuff like this, it blends really nicely. You can start to tweak, add more intensity, add a little bit of shimmer. And again, we can freeze it. Maybe I'll increase the decay in size. Freeze. And that's just the sort of frozen sound. You can blend that with some other pads. And then you can sort of play a chord and blend between the frozen sound and the chord. Which I've done on a track recently, and you just get the sort of movement between the drone note and the new chords. So love using it with pads. It works really well in that context. I'm just going to delete it and go for a pluck as well. And if you're watching this far, I think it's safe to say that maybe you already release your music on sites like Spotify and Apple Music, or maybe you're thinking about doing it. So it's a perfect time to talk about this week's video sponsor, who is the legendary DistroKid. Now, if you've not heard of DistroKid, they are a music distributor, which means they take your music and they upload it to all the sites like Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Deezer, and there's a huge list. And DistroKid is always one of the best for getting your music out to all of the new platforms across the world where your music could potentially pop off. And the reason that I always recommend DistroKid is because they are the best value distributor out there. So they get your music onto all of these sites and they don't take a single cut in your royalties, which is pretty unusual for the sort of wider music distribution market. So if you've already got tracks released and maybe you're taking a 10, 15, even 20% or more cut, it might be worth moving them over to DistroKid and just keeping that extra money for yourself, because most of the time the distributors aren't doing anything to push your catalogue to justify that additional percentage cut. So they offer a few plans from Musician, Musician Plus or Ultimate. So I would highly recommend checking out at least Musician Plus, just because the main thing is it gives your music a customized release date, which you need for things like planning your releases properly, pitching to Spotify and some other distributors and that sort of thing as well. So I'd recommend checking out the Musician Plus plan, which is just $40 a year, which is mental in comparison to some of the fees that people are paying to get their music out there. And DistroKid is just ahead of the game for features, so they make it super easy to make things like your Spotify Canvas, which if you go up here and go to enhance your music, you got the Spotify Canvas generator. So doing things like Spotify Canvas and sort of ticking all the boxes, mostly for Spotify, but sometimes for Apple too, using all of their features, then you're more likely to get pushed by Spotify. So would highly recommend checking out DistroKid. I've got a special offer where you can get 7% off your first year's membership if you click the link in the description down below. Link in the description down below to check out DistroKid. But for now, onto the rest of the video. So we'll just go for another pluck. And I'll just make sure that the reverb is off. And throw a fresh case on there. So we'll up the density, up the dust. You get some really cool feedbacks. Add a bit of shimmer. So yeah, really cool for the dark ambient stuff as well. And you get some mental sort of intense feedback loops if you really push everything. And finally, it works really well on sort of nice felted pianos too. So I'll demo it on one I think everyone probably has in their VST collection. If not, they've probably heard it before, which is the soft piano from Labs. So I've turned their reverb off. And we'll just throw a dust verb on there. And I like to sort of drop the mix, do a bit of a high pass. And because it's quite a long decay, maybe a little bit of shimmer, a little bit more feedback. It's sort of subtly in the background, gives it a nice shimmer to the top line. And then again, of course. Let's freeze it. And then you can duplicate it, take the freeze off, and sort of jam along with that. Maybe I'll drop the mix a little bit. So it's live now on mondoloops.com, where you can go over, check it out, listen to some audio demos, read up about it in more detail. And I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Is it something that you're interested in? I've got some more sound design stuff coming out, and I've got some instruments that I'm really excited about as well. So more info to follow soon. And if you do grab the plugin, please do drop a tag on Instagram if you're demoing any tracks. Would love to hear it. So yeah, that is Dust Verb. So a couple of things to mention regarding the installation. It's available in Windows and for Mac. For Windows, it's just a usual sort of installation setup. For Mac, you'll get a Dust Verb zip. You unzip it, open up the DMG, and what you've got to do is essentially click on the folder and drag it in. And if you're updating, you'll press replace. If not, it won't ask you this. And that's it. And then once you open it, it'll ask you for your credentials, which will also be emailed over. And I also mentioned in my previous video about competition to work with some more of you. And so huge thank you to everyone who sent me tracks. I had some fantastic tracks sent in. So it was really a tough decision, but I picked the tracks sort of based on, but I've picked a few tracks that I think will make interesting tracks and interesting videos. And there's gonna be a dedicated video to me finishing all the tracks and sort of going through the process of collaborating and stuff soon. So do stay tuned for that. And I had such high quality submissions, so I've got more plans for stuff like this. So do stay tuned for future videos. If you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, you'll be the first to find out about uploads. And if you enjoy the videos, please do drop a like, drop a comment. Share it to your friends. It really helps the channel sort of keep alive. And I'll say thank you for sticking around this long. I'm going to be running a 20% off launch bonus for everyone who's watched this video. So if you use the code DUST20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off the launch price. So yep, huge thanks for watching. Excited to hear what you make of this plugin, and catch you next time.